Hi, everybody. Matt Bernier and Mike Beard taking a look at the featured event at Delaware Park Saturday afternoon, the Grade 2 Delaware Handicap. 10 furlongs on the main track for fillies and mares. Before we dive into the field, I'd encourage you to head on over to drf.com/bet. You can get all the latest as far as details and offers are concerned for a new DRF Bets account. Again, drf.com/bet is the address. Let's take a look at the field of fillies and mares that will be going the 10 furlong distance. Worth noting, it sounds like the number 7 horse Farrell is not going to be running. We're not going to go official with that just yet, but I don't believe Wayne Catalano shipped her. So therefore, we will scratch down to a field of 8. But Mike, really all eyes are going to be on one horse. There's plenty of accomplished girls in here, but Elate is the horse that everyone is going to be taking note of, making her first start since the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She went off as the 2-1 favorite out at Del Mar last year. She didn't run poorly, but it wasn't one of her better efforts. We know on her best day, she's simply better than everyone else in this field.
Yeah, I mean, all those things are certainly true. It's very good to see her back. I guess a little bit of a belated start to her 4-year-old campaign here midway through July, but it's good to see her back, and we'll just see what we get from her because it's pretty clear just based on what she did as a 3-year-old last year that, I mean, if she just turns up here on Saturday and can still run, in a lot of ways, she just has this field over a barrel. I mean, she's just better than these horses. She's better than them by a lot. And it just feels like the distance is a good one for her. I mean, you go back to that Alabama last summer at 1.25 miles. It's probably the best race she's ever run. It's not easy to get 1.25 miles off this kind of a layoff, but if she's, close to ready in here for Bill Mott, she's just going to win this race.
That would be my only concern, is considering we're dealing with about an 8-month layoff. Her first start's going to be at 10 furlongs. But again, if she is ready to go, she's simply the horse to beat. You go back to that Beldame, she was awesome. The Alabama, she was awesome. And again, she wasn't terrible in the distaff, and clearly something went a little bit amiss from there. After that, you're left with a couple of more logical contenders, but I think you can poke holes in them. Drawn just to her inside is the number 5 Unbridled Mo for Todd Pletcher. And I don't know if you agree, but I feel like there's going to be a major test for her to get past once we get to that 10th furlong, because I don't think distance is this girl's friend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not sure how far she really wants to go, and I don't want to, take too much away from her. I mean, she did win a Grade 1 race 2 starts back at Oaklawn and that Apple Blossom, but it just sort of feels like, I don't even think she was best in that race necessarily, but she did get it done in there. Obviously, Unique Bella had all kinds of trouble in there, and this horse sort of took advantage a little bit. I'm with you. I don't think she really wants to go this far. I'm not sure that she's up to the level of a horse like Elate anyway. Maybe her advantage is she's got a couple of races already this year and Elate doesn't, but I'm not even sure that I believe that can make that much of a difference. I will say this about her. She's one of those horses that makes you realize how good Todd Pletcher is at his job, because he has gotten this horse to go 7 for 11 with $1 million in the bank solely by finding the right spots for her.
Yeah, and really, like you say, that just boils down to putting horses where they belong and where they fit, and not overstepping or overreaching their possibilities. Mopatism is a horse that she's been thrown into some pretty difficult positions throughout her career. I'm a big fan of hers, but at the end of the day, she kind of is what she is. She's no superstar, 3 of 19 lifetime, but she's earned plenty of nice checks in here. She's coming up on $700,000 in career earnings. I always wondered if 10 furlongs was going to be a little bit better for her, but I have to be honest, I hate to use this term, but I feel like she just kind of plugs along, and she's one that maybe she's best used underneath, if at all.
Yeah, that's how I'm looking at her too. I think you put it perfectly. She is what she is. She's a real nice horse. They try her in a lot of tough spots, and she shows up and she does the best that she can do in those races, but she's probably just a cut below the real top level fillies.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. Now, keep in mind, this is probably going to look differently, and the good thing about Timeform US, this will update once the scratches are official. Right now, you've got that fast pace with the number 7 Farrell out there, but again, with Farrell not expected to go in a spot like this, that would leave the number 4 horse Proper Discretion, as well as the number 8 horse Nikki My Darling on the front end. Those both happen to be owned by Ron Palucci and Luch Stables. I don't personally think either one of them is truly a win contender, but I suppose Nikki My Darling at least has a few races on her paper that would make her a fringe sort of in the money kind of horse.
Yeah, she ran a couple of good races sort of towards the late summer last year. I mean, 3 really good races in a row, blowout wins, and all of those. She's come back off a layoff so far this year, and she hasn't run particularly well in either of her races, so that's a huge concern. I guess she'll be part of the pace in here. I don't know if either or both of these 2 horses are just in here to try and give the other Luch horse, Furiously Kiss, something to run at late in this race. Maybe that's why they're here. Either way, they both look like they're in pretty tough.
Let's talk about Furiously Kissed, the other Luch in here, the third of the three, breaking from the far outside. Negative formulator fact for Anthony Carterola, the trainer. Past 5 years, first-time blinkers, 1 for 26. How often do you see a 1 for 26 number actually spin a positive return on investment? 221 ROI, that's because the winner was 27-1 that day. Furiously Kissed, she has run some respectable races. She's multiple graded stakes placed this year alone. She's a grade 1 stakes placed mare. She did that in the Apple Blossom 3 starts back. The blinkers go on perhaps to make her not have to come from totally out of the clouds.
Right.
Having said that, I kind of feel like an underneath sort of award is her ceiling.
Yeah, that's where I would use her too. I do think she's probably the best of the 3 Luch horses in this field, and maybe the race would have set up well for her and she'll get a piece of it. She could probably stay on at the end of this race. You know, I give them a lot of credit for claiming her for 62.5 and getting her grade 1 placed in their very first start with her, but the reality is in each of those races 2 and 3 back, she was just picking up pieces at the end. She was never a real factor in either of those races, and where's her race that's got a late quaking in her boots even with the layoff?
The last 2 horses in the field that we'll touch on, they both exit the local prep for the Delaware Handicap. That's the Obeah Stakes. They both ran in that back on June the 16th. The number 2, Sneaky Betty. The number 1, Teresa Z. Let's begin with Teresa Z. We've got a positive formulator fact for her trainer, Anthony Margata Jr. Past year, dirt winner last out, 4 for 13 with a 481 ROI. I've always been a fan of Teresa Z. I wonder if she is slowly putting it all together. It's taken her some time, and they paid a boatload of money for her when they bought her. I think the distance is going to work for her. The question is, can she up her game? Because right now, she's just not fast enough.
Yeah, that's the real question that I have with her, too. I mean, to me, she is the other horse in the race, the only other horse that I'm even mildly interested in. But boy, I mean, she's really, it does feel like she's just hoping that a late needs one off the layoff and doesn't show up with her best race, because she's just never run a race that's really going to make her competitive with that horse. They tried her last year over this track against a late. It was no contest. A late easily handled her that day. I know that she's improved a little bit since then, and I like her last race just fine, but she's got to improve again.
And as far as Sneaky Betty is concerned, no match for Teresa Z in that Obeah Stakes most recently. She doesn't really have a speed figure on her page that makes her a win contender. And for that matter, just to be frank, she really doesn't have a speed figure that makes her much of a fringe contender as far as in the money is concerned. But look, 10 furlongs, I suppose anything can happen.
Yeah, we've seen some strange things happen when horses don't want to get this distance. You could find horses just sort of falling apart at the end. Maybe that works for her, but you're right. I mean, there's no race you could point to that makes her a real contender in here.
Race number 9 to Delaware on Saturday. It's the Delaware Handicap, 1.25 miles. Let's take a look at our picks. Mike, you're going to go with the late. It's a matter of her coming off the bench, but she's probably just better than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't really want to bet against her. And I know that she doesn't have to win here, but I'm not betting against this horse.
I think a late is strictly the horse to beat. I think she is far and away the most likely winner of this race. But like I said, I like Teresa Z. I've liked her for some time. And I kind of feel like I'll play her to win. And even if she doesn't win, I think she gets beat by a late. So I can play some sort of an exacta there. I want to be against the other contenders in here, Mopatism and Unbridled Mo. I'll go with 1-6 in here. In the 9th race at Delaware on Saturday, the Delaware Handicap. If you're playing this race or any of the other races at Delaware Park or anywhere else around the country for that matter, DRF Bets is the way to do it. Head on over to drf.com/bet. Get all the latest as far as details and offers are concerned for a new DRF Bets account. Scheduled post time for race number 9, the Delaware Handicap, 5:15 Eastern. Best of luck.